This is Rod with Rock Jam Guitar. Today we're going to be doing a super simple lesson about whole steps, half steps, sharps, and flats. Let's start by understanding what is a whole step and what is a half step. A whole step on the guitar is when you skip a fret, or when you count 2 frets ahead. 1, 2. And it really does not matter where you play that on the fretboard, as long as you're going 2 frets ahead or skipping a fret. That is a whole step. Okay? And a half step is half of that. So the very next fret, that's a half step, that's a half step, that's a half step. So whole step, half step. Okay? And then music. Does not matter if you're playing guitar, bass, piano, this rule is going to be true for all the instruments. Between a C note to a D note, you're always going to have a whole step. D to an E, also a whole step. E to an F, you're going to have a half step there. F to a G, whole step. G to an A, whole step. A to a B, whole step. And B to a C, half step. So keep that in mind, that you have pretty much whole step among every single note except E and F and B and C. Okay, now this is extremely helpful for us to find the notes throughout the fretboard. Okay, we know that in standard tuning, the name of our strings are E, B, G, D, A, and E. Okay, so those are the zeros there. So this is nothing more than a starting point now for us to figure out what note is next. Okay, if we stay on the high E string to start here, E is the 0. We know that between E and F, we have a half step. And then between F and G, we have a whole step, so we skip the 2nd fret. Then G and A, we have another whole step, so the A is going to be on the 5th fret. And that was basically the idea that I was using to find the notes here on the A string. Let's start from the 0, the A. We know that right after A, we have the B note, which is a whole step. So we skip fret number 1 to find the B on the 2nd fret. Then we have a half step to the C note, which is going to be on the 3rd fret. Then C, the very next note, it's going to be the D note, a whole step, skip the 4th fret. D note is going to be on the 5th fret. Okay? You can do that sort of idea with all of those strings. Okay? Make sure to go to the website, Rock Jam Guitar, download Guitar Guide number 1. It's free. There is a couple of exercises about this sort of idea there. Okay? Now we can also jump to the next idea here, right? If we have E on the 1st string, F on the 1st fret, then the next note is a G, which is a whole step. So we skip that 2nd fret, right? So does that mean that the 2nd fret doesn't have a name, or how are we going to call that 2nd fret? Well, that's where the sharps and flats are going to be super handy to us, right? A sharp, it's really nothing more than a symbol that's going to raise any note, half step. So if we have E, half step to F, then we would have a whole step to G, or we can have in the middle here, F, sharp. So now we have E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and we also have the flats, which is really nothing more than a symbol that lowers the notes half step. So the same way that I have E, half step to F, half step to an F sharp, to a G. I can also think about this on the way back. G, G flat. So that means that an F sharp and a G flat, F sharp, G flat. F sharp, G flat are absolutely the same note. Okay? So just accept that for now, that we have one note that has two names, and then later on, with a little bit more of music theory, you can understand when you're going to call an F sharp, and when you're going to call a G flat, okay? With that idea, we can also understand that, for example, B, half step to C, right? So does that mean that we're never going to see a B sharp? Not really, right? We do have a B sharp. It just happens to be the same as the C note. So this can be called a B sharp or a C. Same way that we can have a B note here or a C flat. Okay. Now this is going to be extremely helpful for you if you play guitar and you master a couple of power chord shapes, for example, right? And you know that this is an F power chord, and this is a G power chord, and this is a C power chord. But then the next song that you're trying to learn, it says that we have a D sharp and an A sharp, for example. Well, it's just a matter for you to get the shapes that you already know, C, and use the whole step, half step theory. C, a whole step to D. But we need a D sharp, just move that shape, half step more, and you have your D sharp, which is actually on the 6th fret of the A string, right? And you can do the same thing with the other shapes. If you're looking for that A sharp, and you know that this is the G shape, G, a whole step to A, half step to A sharp. So now you get your D sharp and your A sharp. It's really cool to understand this sort of theory, because now you can apply that in different instruments. For example, got a little keyboard here. I know that the first note is going to be my C. Then the next one is the D, E, okay, F, G, A, B, back to C. Then we have the same notes again, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, okay? And then we can figure out that the black keys above here are the sharps and flats that we were talking about. So this is the C, this is a C sharp. This is a D, this is a D sharp. This is the E, right? Remember that we talked about that between E and F we have a half step? That's the reason you don't have a black key there, right? You have E and F. F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and then once again between B and C, we only have a half step, so you don't see a black key there, right? You can work the same idea with the flats, right? You have your C, B, B flat, A flat, G flat, F, E, right? E flat, D flat, and C, okay? So C, D, C sharp, D flat, right? D, E, D sharp, E flat, E and F, or we can have F flat or E, E sharp or F, right? And you can keep going with the same ideas that we just learned. Thank you for watching this lesson. Please don't forget to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.